Hello and welcome to the Comic Book Communicast, the official podcast of the Google Plus comic book community. This is issue number 7 for the week of October 16th, 2013. I'm Justin Beeson, and I'm joined by co-host Sarah Evans.
Hi.
And Aaron Travis.
Hello.
Paul is still traveling the globe, and it's 5 a.m. over there, and he couldn't join us this week, but I think he's back next week, and he'll be able to get back on here. Each episode we take a look at a few comics from this week that we couldn't wait to read first, as well as talk about last week's community pick of the week and other content that generated discussion. So let's start right off. Sarah, what was your first pick this week?
My pick that I couldn't wait to read was Hawkeye number 13, just because this has been a really great ongoing series. I feel like this is the kind of comic that I really enjoy because it's got some action, it's got your superheroes, it's got Clint Barton and all of the women that seem to completely run over his life in a good way. And you've still got some downtime with him being a person and having a personality and being a hero and having a dog. And that's just super cute. The art continues to be awesome. I mean, it's the same artist. They have a really interesting storytelling style where they'll use a lot of panels as opposed to just having big, flashy, one-page spreads or whenever they want to emphasize something. It's kind of more of an indie feel for a character that it would be really easy to kind of get shuffled into the mainstream and the flash and the pow of big-name superheroes. I mean, everybody knows Hawkeye now. But he's in civvies as much as he is, probably more than he is in uniform in this series, and just him and his personality and just the relationships that he has with the other superheroes around him is just a really great read. And we see his brother, formerly of the Dark Avengers, taking his title as Hawkeye, kind of showing back up as a civilian in this issue, and that's really great. Not to mention, issue 13 has heavily tied into the semi-famous issue 11, where the entire comic was told from the perspective of his dog, which was insanely adorable. And we kind of had a feeling for what was going to happen throughout the comic. Like, at one point, we know that Kate was going to take off with the dog, because that was what she did at the end of issue 11, and that was where that story ended. And we have Clint dealing with certain things from his perspective instead of what the dog comprehends as happening. Like, that he's having a conversation, and they keep saying the word collar a lot, like blah, 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 your shirt collar. And when it was the dog issue, he only knew the word collar, 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 so that was all that popped up, but we're getting the rest of the conversation now, and it's just a really, really great tie-in. So in this issue, we have him reuniting with his brother and dealing with the death of a friend, as well as the kind of secret collective that it looks like may be working to actually remove him from the chessboard as it is. So
Yeah, actually, I regret not going back and reading the last few issues had I known that it was going to be another kind of overlapping one. See, it goes, the events in that one kind of cover right after the one where Girls was taken out, and then the Pizza Dog one, and then the first part of the annual.
right.
So yeah.
No, I should probably admit I've missed issue 12 as well, somewhere in the shuffle of changing comic book stores and a new pull box. But
See, I thought issue 12 was the Pizza Dog one.
Issue 11 was the Pizza Dog
Okay.
one. Yeah, got it here. So.
Aha.
But it was a really great issue. The series continues to impress, and I can't recommend it highly enough.
Oh yeah, issue 12 didn't. Well, issue 12 doesn't matter for this one because it was a Kate issue. So it. I don't know if you've been reading.
It matters, but.
Well, I'm not for this storyline, but it. I don't know if you read, because now they're going to be switching off. So the annual Kate takes off to L.A. and then 11 or 12 was her issue. This issue's Clint, and then from now on they're going to be switching off.
Okay, well, I hate having missed that then, and I can't wait for next month. I know a lot of fans have been asking, how can she have one completely unrelated storyline hanging out with Clint and Hawkeye and everything she's got going on with Young Avengers as well? And they promised that they were going to kind of tie that together, show how it happened. So they may or may not be happening at the same time. I don't think so. Her action in Hawkeye kind of feels like a prequel to everything that starts to play into Young Avengers, because we haven't even seen her interacting with Marvel Boy or anything, and they've got that relationship in the Young Avengers series, but this one is mostly dependent on her and Clint.
Yeah.
Which is great. They're really great friends. It's really cool to read. So,
yeah, it's one of the better male-female dynamics in comics.
Definitely. I know a lot of people were kind of grossed out about the possibility of, oh, please don't make this romantic because she's so young, and it's a relief to be able to see, a couple of opposite gender characters interacting and just being friends, because you don't see that a lot in comics.
Yeah, it's refreshing. All right, so Aaron, what was your pick this week?
All right. This week I chose Baltimore, the Infernal Train, #2. This is the second issue of the 8th part of the Baltimore series, not including the novel. So
I know that's including the one-shots too, because I know there's a few one-shots.
There's like 170 something episodes or something like that, or not episodes, issues, and this is the 8th. It's been going on for like nearly 10 years or something like that, somewhere around in there. But yeah, it's Mike Mignola, Christopher Golden, and Ben Steinbeck doing art. So it's pretty, you know what you're gonna get that ways. But the story of Baltimore is really cool. I just started reading it a couple of weeks ago. I picked up the first one, but I figured I'd just hop onto this one, and it's actually pretty cool because it's not necessarily. It's kind of a good starting point, because it doesn't really have too much to do with the main plot of his search for Haggis, at least not yet. So it's pretty cool. It's basically, if you've read any of them, if you read the first one, there's there's a couple of panels where he passes by this train where they're loading bodies into it in France, and you get a little. This is basically the story of that. It's this train that this is only issue 2, and it's really not a spoiler, but it's this train that they pile bodies into the furnace, and it fuels the rise of the ultimate, what I'm assuming is going to be the ultimate big bad, this Red King, which is really cool. The storytelling, the dialogue is really minimal, unless it needs to be, because there's a couple of verbose characters in there, but it's very minimal. There's a lot of really good purposeful action in there, it's even though they are kind of zombies, it's like more I Am Legend, because they're vampires, but they're vampires, but they're zombies at the same time. But it's really creepy. It's really conceptually cool. This is a fantastic series, and I'm gonna keep reading it, and I'm definitely gonna go back and read everything that I missed in this, because this is amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the series that I've been meaning to check out. I've read a couple here and there, and they've always been good. I just haven't gotten around to going and picking up, the other ones. But that's
this whole story is freaking. It's so overarching. There's so many little facets, and they're just every little character ends up being something, and they're just really cool. They're just great. I've never read that much Mike Mignola stuff. But when I have, I've noticed he does this, and this is just another shining example of it. It's freaking amazing. It's beautiful. Everybody should read it.
Great. All right, so with my pick, I chose Letter 44, #1. This is the new creator-owned comic from Charles Soule, who's been kind of coming up a lot lately, kind of like Matt Kent. Charles Soule's been, given a lot of work lately. He's on Swamp Thing, Red Lanterns, Thunderbolts. I think he's doing Ghost Rider. He got announced for a couple more books at New York Comic Con too, but he's doing a lot of work. But this is back to where I started, back to creator-owned stuff. It's by Oni Press, and it's only $1. So I was like, oh, this is a perfect thing to pick up. The premise of this one is that from president to president, the outgoing president leaves a letter for the incoming president that he kind of just, gives them advice, outlines kind of a little bit of what's going on, and so a new president comes in, and it's a kind of strict. You could tell it's comparisons to George W. Bush going out and a new president coming in, because the president going out, people don't view him in the most positive light. So, anyways, the new president coming in gets his letter and basically finds out that, oh, hey, there's something extraterrestrial in deep space that we spotted, and they're building something. We haven't made contact yet, but there was a mission set out about 3 years ago, and they're almost there. So it's basically the story of this president getting thrown in the first day, and he has to deal with a potential alien threat. And it's kind of him getting into that, and then he calls the team in the rocket or shuttle, whatever, and they can only talk every half an hour because it takes so long for the transmission to go. And it's kind of nice. Like, it's been a while since I've read a kind of like a standard sci-fi story, but it had enough new things to make it interesting. The story is really the focus here because the art wasn't that great. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. The layouts are really standard. But the story, the dialogue, the pacing was all good. And then, of course, they give you a nice last page cliffhanger, which is the first glimpse of what's going on out there. And I will probably be picking more of these up. I liked Charles Soule's creator-owned stuff. There was something called 27, which was really good. And he's had a couple other things that have been really good. And so I'm not completely sold on it yet, mostly because of the art, but I'll give this one a few issues and see where it goes from there. So, Sarah, did you pick up anything else this week?
I did. I grabbed Cable and X-Force, which I almost chose for my number one if Hawkeye weren't so intriguing lately. Just because, I don't know, going back and reading some of the old X-Force lately kind of compelled me to start pulling this series, and for some of the familiar characters as well, Domino and Boom Boom, and we've got Hope in there too, because apparently Cable is doomed to be surrounded by teenagers who don't take his crap, and it's just been a really entertaining series. And grabbed the new A+X as well, although that's not on my pull list, just because none of the characters they've featured have been characters that I'm that I'm in particular interested in, but the stories that they've been telling with just these superheroes hanging out has been really entertaining, so can't wait to read that as well.
Cool. Aaron, did you pick up anything else besides Baltimore?
I nabbed the first one of this series. I didn't nab anything new. I nabbed a bunch of. I found out that one of my favorite authors, Brian Keene, has been doing a zombie series for Antarctic. So I nabbed a ton of those. I can't remember what it's called. It's like Zombie the Last something, but yeah, that's basically it.
Cool. Well, some of the other ones I picked up today, Code Monkey Save World, which is one of the huge Kickstarter comics. It was one of the first ones that got, killed all their funding. That's by Greg Pak, and then it's based on songs by Jonathan Colton, he's like kind of an internet musician. He did one of the theme songs for Portal and a whole bunch of other stuff. And so I'm looking forward to reading that. It's pretty much, from what I can tell, it's pretty much what the title is. It's about a monkey who writes computer code and then is thrown into some big event with giant robots and zombies and all kinds of crazy stuff. So that should be fun. And then Batman and Two-Face. I was reading Batman and Robin, but then after they killed off Damian, it was just Batman grieving, and just for 5 months now, I was just tired of it, so I dropped off. But now that's done with, they're kind of reintroducing Two-Face into the New 52, so I think that should be pretty good. And then also Green Lantern, New Guardians. They're in the middle of a crossover called Lights Out, And basically, like, I've been following Green Lantern for forever. It's one of the first comics I started reading. And, you know, I wasn't really a fan of John's later stories, and I stuck it out with the creative changes. And this is kind of the last chance I'm giving it before I drop off, and it's not going well. Out of all, I mean, I'm reading 4 events right now, because there's Infinity, there's Battle of Atom, Forever Evil, Lights Out, and this is definitely the at the bottom of the pile. So we'll see where they go from here, because there was a pretty major reveal at the end of this one about, you know, what's going on with the universe. So we'll see how they stick the landing, but it's a good chance I'll be dropping off those titles after this. So that's it for this week's comics. So last week, our pick of the week, once again, is Infinity with issue number 4. And Aaron, since you decided to join in this week, I'll let you go first. What did you have to say about this issue?
I actually picked a popular comic, or actually read a popular comic. Holy crap! No, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I read number 4 first, before I read anything else, and I am actually kind of well versed with the backstory and all that kind of stuff. And because the rest, everything leading up to this point, it kind of reads like any of the other intergalactic kind of stuff they've ever done. The Shi'ar, Kree stuff, whatever, all the old Thanos stuff that they ever did. It's very similar to that, but and really the thing that just got me with it, that just really was my hook, was the whole part with Thane. That was it. That was it for me. That was awesome. That was really cool. Like I said, I didn't read the beginning of it, so I didn't know the whole point was he was hunting for his son. But how they introduced him was awesome, and who this character represents is awesome, and where it went at the end was really cool. And this is going to be this has the potential to be a great freaking story.
Yeah, there were a lot of oh crap moments in
there
this issue.
There definitely were. I didn't expect it.
Yeah, then this is my favorite event going on right now. It feels like an event, the scope of it. But yeah, the Thane moment, and then the scene. I like this one because you finally get to see Captain America as the strategist, and so he sends in Thor of all people to negotiate, and the way that situation ends up, I was wide-eyed. You know, when that all went down, and you want to pump your fist with them after you get done reading this comic. And
they led up to that, though. I mean, there's the whole thing where they're like, okay, we're at the suicide mission, and I think it was like 2 or something like that, maybe 3. They were like, okay, we're in the middle of the suicide mission. What are we gonna do? We're just gonna go straight ahead and fight them straight ahead. And you know, he just had this moment where he's just like, no, you don't know what you're doing. I do. Boom. And then they ended up just whooping their butts. That was pretty. You know, when they took the I don't remember what the hell they called the ship, but it was the planet destroyer ship, and you know, that whole thing. That whole part was awesome.
It's really good, and now that you've read the main series, I would definitely recommend taking a look at the Avengers and New Avengers tie-ins. Yeah.
I think there haven't been that many of them, so that shouldn't be that hard to get around.
There's a title in between each. No, actually, maybe not. Anyways,
there might have been 2. There might have been 2.
There's a few.
Were a handful. There's the chart. All I know is there was the chart.
There's a chart.
And the cool thing about it as well, on the, I don't know if they had it in the print comics, but the digital extra with the Silver Surfer was really well done. It wasn't like completely action packed. It's the story of the Silver Surfer going to save the Skrull. It had a lot of pathos, and it was really freaking cool. The art was amazing, and how they laid it out in the digital comic was very similar to how they did like the DC2 stuff. I haven't read that many digital comics that actually utilize the format in a really interesting way. Up until I read my first DC2, this did a lot of that as well, and it was really cool. I really dig it.
I can give you a whole bunch of recommendations for those. And
I've seen some that were supposed to be like that, but they weren't. They were just like, okay, we're gonna like do something stupid, but they actually used the medium for the narrative, which is cool.
Yeah. Sarah, you'll have to read a couple of these because I'm sure we'll see more more pick of the weeks from this event before it's over.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean,
It's good.
the issue of Fearless Defenders that was a tie-in last week, I really enjoyed that, and I've been skimming Mighty Avengers, which started out as a tie-in for this. So, I mean, I've enjoyed it so far. I probably will start hearing you guys rave about it.
All right, so that does it for pick of the week. New York Comic-Con was last weekend, so we wanted to talk about what our favorite announcements or reveals to come out of that was. Sarah, what was your highlight? What was the highlight for you from the Comic-Con?
Well, I know that pretty much everyone online that I follow that is of like mind was super excited about Stephanie Brown's announcement and reemergence because, God knows, everyone's been rioting about this for over 2 years, ever since before the reboot when it was announced that she and Cassandra Cain were not going to be in it. And it's kind of gratifying to see it paying off, but at the same time, I think that a lot of people are really skeptical about what it's going to be like, just because DC editorial has not been exactly winning any awards for caring about what the fans think. And very optimistic about Scott Snyder as the writer on the project, though. He's gotten some good.
He's not going to be the writer. He's going to be
God.
showrunner.
No, sorry, I misspoke.
Yeah,
misspoke.
which is an outlook good for that because he's one of the DC writers that seems like he gets his way. So if he's in charge of everything, I think that bodes well for it.
Yes, I was a little curious as to how you have writers like Gail Simone who are like, I asked to use this character, but they said no, and then you have someone like Scott Snyder who's like, oh yeah, I just suggested that we use Stephanie, and it got approved, and not sure what's going on, what the inner politics were there that we may never find out. But
I have a feeling a lot of it is tied to Batman sales being crazy.
Probably. God knows he has enough series right now. But it looks like she'll be back as the Spoiler, which not exactly sure how that's going to go over, just because I feel like they're trying to keep her in safe territory where, oh, well, she won't be a Robin, because God knows we can't have that. But she won't be stealing any of Barbara's thunder either, so they kind of stuck her as Spoiler as her original identity, which was good because she made it herself and it was how she became known as a hero. But at the same time, you had a lot of fans pre-reboot who really, really hated on Steph as Spoiler and as Robin, and then all of a sudden she's Batgirl, and they're like, oh, I really like her now. So we'll have to see if that popularity kind of holds up now that she's back to the role, and hopefully she'll be more than Tim Drake's tag-along this time.
Well, I mean, I don't shoot down her as Robin just yet. I mean, there's still a slot to fill, and Snyder has said, that well, the title where she's appearing, I guess we should also mention, is Batman Eternal, which will be running weekly. But he said, he's back in Zero Year right now, and he said Batman Eternal is where all the crazy world building is going to be going on in the current DC universe. So who knows? He could have, some crazy plans for her.
Maybe. Evidently, I mean, we've already got alternate universe from Earth 2. Helena Wayne was Robin before she showed up on the scene, so maybe they've decided, what the heck.
Yep. So, Aaron, what was your favorite announcement, or what are you looking forward to the most? Aaron, you there?
I muted myself. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I liked the thing for me was all the Dynamite stuff. The Dr. Spectre, Mark Waid doing Dr. Spectre is going to be cool. The Dawn and Vampirella crossover, but mostly the Grendel Shadow crossover is going to be really cool. I think I haven't read any Grendel since I was in high school, and the Shadow has always been a really cool character, and I think it'll be really interesting how they talked about integrating the two together stylistically and thematically, and that really got me pumped.
Awesome. Well, my favorite announcement was that there's going to be another Serenity miniseries, because I'm a huge Firefly fan.
Brown coats. Yeah.
Now, I mean, they've been teasing it for a while, and I was really hoping for an ongoing, which would have been awesome. But you know, I'll take what I can get. The other thing is, it would have been cool to have been, you know, pre-movie continuity, but I think it'll also be real interesting to see where they take it, because this is going to be, it's a 6-issue miniseries. It takes place after the movie, so you know, we have dead characters. It sounds like it's going to take a little bit more of a serious tone, you know, obviously because if you've seen the movie, the events take place. But the one
Wash
thing,
is dead. It's going to be incredibly serious.
Yeah.
The comic relief is dead.
The one thing I'm really looking forward to is getting to see more of Badass River, because you know, you got that little bit at the end of the movie, and then she, you know, takes over pilot duties, and you're like, yes, and then it's over. So now we get her in all her glory. No more. Well, they'll probably dip into a little bit, but no, you know, less paranoid stuff and more just her taking control. Hopefully.
I mean, at least if nothing else, people realize she's a complete badass and not to mess with her.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm hoping this is the first of many to come. And it's the other, I forget, it starts with a Z. It's either Zach or Zed Whedon or something. It's Joss's brother doing it, who did the Shepherd book one shot, which I really liked. So, I think we're in for some quality Firefly material.
Sounds
nice.
good.
I saw that, but I didn't read up on that. But that sounds like it could be worth it.
Oh yeah.
What is that going to be on? What was that?
Dark Horse.
The Dark Horse. Okay.
Yeah, the same. I mean, pretty much where all the Whedon comics are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think obviously besides, you know, now that he's Marvel, but all of his created stuff, it goes to Dark Horse.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and I mean, the other thing I was looking forward to, I'm real curious about the Batman Eternal, the weekly Batman book, to see how they handle it. So that should be real interesting. Were there any other announcements that maybe weren't at the top of your list, but you know, also had your interest piqued?
Sailor Moon, new series starts in January, so woo.
I don't know. I really dug the Joker voice actor for the new Batman game.
Oh, I still have to watch that.
Dude, that was great. That was so good.
So what Aaron's referring to is the Joker voice, or the guy who's playing the Joker. I should look up his name. I don't have his name, but he records the monologue from The Killing Joke.
Yes.
So you get a preview.
It's really well done.
Okay,
oh my God, it's so
I still need to go watch that. Now, does he channel Mark Hamill, or does he kind of make it his own?
He does. He actually does. But he channels him, but he's not trying to be him. So
cool.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, there was a handful of things like George Romero's doing Empire of the Dead, which looked really cool. I mean, I like horror comic books, and when I went to San Diego Comic-Con a few years ago, got to meet George Romero. So yeah,
cool.
That looked really neat, and that actually was supposed to be. It looks like it's going to be fully developed and not just something that they're selling on his name. They're actually going to make it decent. So
cool. Any other standouts for you, Sarah?
Not so much, I don't think. Just kind of excited for Batman Eternal.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that about wraps it up then. The Communicast home on the web is #Communicast on Google+, and cbcpodcast.tumblr.com. You can find all of our episodes in audio or video, as well as links for subscriptions, audio downloads, and anything else that we mention on the show that has a link. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week, and hopefully Paul will be here too.
Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.